Hi, today we are going to do day 3 of systems of equations. And today what we're going to do is we're going to learn about first changing and combining equations so that we can solve the system of equations. So click on this to open it up. Okay, the first thing I'd like you to do when you open this up is to you're already on the video, is to click on this assignment, this link right here, because this is going to describe what we're going to do today. So please, and also you can translate if you need to. Remember, you can always go to File, Make a Copy, Tools, Translate if you would like to translate. But it's very important that you read this information here and understand it. So the first thing it talks about is what we did in the last lesson. So we already saw an equation like this, correct? This is number 2 on the assignment, so I'm going to go ahead and look at that. Okay, so on question number 1, it is something that we've done very many times. You have answer choices here, here, here. So you're just going to try them, right? You're going to try each choice. I'm writing with my cursor. My mouse is not very good. But you're going to try choices to see, for example, is 2 times 10 plus 2 times 1, is that equal to 22? If it is, then you will also check here to make sure it's also and works here. If not, then you try the second one, then you try the third one, etc. So you've done that. I'll let you do that one for the assignment. And you've also done something a little by like number 2, where you combine the equations. We don't have any answer choices like we did here, but we can combine the equations and find the solution that way. So why don't you, if you want to pause the video and try to solve it yourself, you can do that and then come back and I'll kind of a little bit more quickly go through and get to the solution. Okay, so when we have an equation, like this, it should be right, there we go, okay. We can see that there's the same number of positive x's as there are negative x's. So we can see right away that when we combine the positive 8x and then minus 8x, the zeros will be canceled out. But we still have 10y and 3y, so when we put those together, we're going to get 13y is equal to, and then we also have to add the 130 and the negative 13, so that would be 117. Okay, so we get 13y is equal to 117. And then we, as you know, we take that and we want to cancel out the 13, right? But we have to divide both sides by the 13. And so here, if you do that on your calculator, y would be equal to 9, correct? Okay, so we know how to do that. And that is for the y, but we also need to get the x, right? So let me go ahead and get this out of the way. So what we can do is we can grab one of the equations. I like the top equation. Looks like it's a little bit easier to work with. Let me go ahead and get my pen back here. Okay, so we can get this equation right here, right? And we're going to go 8x. Now we have our y. We know that the y is 9. We need to get the x, right? So that we're going to use the first equation, 8x, and plus 10. But since we know 10 is 9, we're going to use 9 here instead of y, right? So we're going to go 9, parenthesis, equals 130, right? Okay, and then we're going to simplify 8x. And then 10 times 9 is 90 equals 130, okay? And then as you know, we subtract 90 from both sides. Oops, 90. Okay, and we get 8x equals 1, wait, what is that? That's 40, right? And then we divide by 8, x is equal to 5, okay? So now we know that we have 5, 9, right? Because this is our 5 for the x, and this is our 9, so we know that's a solution. Remember, you also need to make sure to try it up here to make sure it's correct. So what would that be? That would be negative 40 if I plugged it in there, plus 27, so that would be negative 13. So we know how to do that, right? But now we're going to look at a new kind of problem today. Okay, so number 3 represents a new kind of problem. Let me make the screen a little bit bigger here if I can. Okay, let's hold on. Okay, so here we have a new problem. We don't have any choices to try. And if we put these together, what would we get? We'd get, if we added the x's together, these are both positive, so we would get 12x. And then if we added the y's together, these are both positive also, so we get 14y. And that would be equal to these two. If we added them together, that would be what? 138. Now here's the problem. When you have two variables, we cannot solve for either one. We've created a third equation by combining them, but we need to be able to have an equation with one unknown variable. So for you who would like a translation, I'm going to let you read that real quick. So please be sure to read this, especially if you need to translate it. And this is very important right here, that remember, we can only solve an equation with one unknown variable, not two. Again, we can solve x plus 2 is equal to 5. You know that the x is going to be 3. There's nothing else it could be. Could it be 5? 5 plus 2 is 7. Could it be 8? 8 plus 2 is 10. No, it could only be 3. But we cannot solve an equation like this because, you know, x could be 2 and y could be 4, or x could be 1 and y could be 5. So there's many different possibilities, and that's because we have only one equation with two unknowns. So if we have this situation where we combine these two, right, that didn't help us because we still have x and we still have y. Okay, so that's a problem. So today I'm going to show you that what we can do is we can change. Okay, so also a very important thing is we are going to learn that we can multiply an equation by a number and then combine it with another equation to create a new third equation. And first we're going to think about what coefficients. So make sure to read this and translate it if you need to. But the idea is we're going to try to find a way to make common variables have the same coefficient, except that one is positive and one's negative. And remember this rule: if we have positive 8x and we subtract 8x, we get 0. So that is what has allowed us. That's why we can eliminate the x's, because we have 8x and negative 8x. But here we have two positive x, so we don't get an elimination. Here we have two positive y's, so we don't get an elimination. So our goal is to change one of the equations so that we can get the elimination. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to multiply the second equation. I'm going to multiply it by a number so that I have negative 6x. Can you think about what we would have to multiply this equation by so that we have negative 6x? We could multiply it by negative 1. So we get negative 1 times 6x is minus 6x. Okay? And then negative 1, we have to also multiply it by the 5y and the 63, so we have the same equation. So minus 1 times negative 5y is minus 5y. And we also have to multiply it by the other side, the 63. So that's going to be, okay, so that's going to be negative 63. Okay, so what have we accomplished? Well, now what we can do is we can kind of forget about this equation. We've created a new one. It's the same equation. We've just changed, multiply every term by negative 1. So now we're going to take this equation and we're going to now combine it with this, right? So we're going to have this negative 6x over here minus the 6x is going to cancel out, right? But then we need to take the 9y and we need to subtract 5y, so we get 4y. And that's going to equal, and then 75, now it's minus 63, so that's going to equal 12. Okay, and then now we're back to what we know how to do, divide by 4, y equals 3. Okay, so there you go. So that's how we do it. Now we're going to do what we did before. We're going to take the equation up here, and we're going to go find the x. 6x plus 9, we know the y down here is the 3, so we're going to go times 3 equals 75. Okay, 6x plus 9 times 3 is 27 equals 75 minus 27 minus 27. 6x equals, so that, what is that going to be? That's going to be 48. Okay, and then divide by 6, cancels, x equals 8. Okay, so that means our answer is going to be 8 for the x, y is for the 3. And of course we're going to want to try it on this equation over here, the original, not this one, not this one. You could try it on that one, but we want to try it on this one. So 6 times 8 is 48. 5 times 3 is 15. 48 plus 15, that is 63. So that's our answer. Okay, so that's how you do that. Now let's look at another one. Okay, so now I'm going to try number 5. I'm going to skip 4 for a second, but I'll come back to number 5, okay? Okay, so when I look at number 5, I see 6x, 12x. I see 7y, 4y. So this number and this number are different. 6 and 12 are different. So again, my goal is to make sure that the x's, I have the same number of x's except that one is positive and one's negative. Same here. One's positive, one's negative. But I don't have that. So sometimes, not only do you have to multiply by a negative, maybe, but you might actually have to multiply by a number. So I try to think, how can I have 6 and 12 be the same? Well, if I multiply 6 by 12, or by 2, I would get my 12. And I also want it to be negative. So I'm going to take this one here, and I'm going to multiply this whole equation, by negative 2. Why? The 2 times 6 is the 12, but it's also negative. So let me go ahead and do that. And I'm going to write this equation down here. So negative 12x. I have to multiply negative 2 times 7 plus 14y equals, and then negative 2 times 52 is negative 104. And then I'm going to take and I'm going to combine these equations. Okay, so the 12x's cancel, 4y plus positive 14y. Actually, this is a negative. I just caught. So always remember, this is a negative, okay? Because it's negative 2 times positive 7. I'm sorry, I almost made a mistake. So plus 4y minus 14y is negative 10y. And then 64 minus 104 is going to be negative 40, okay? Then divided by negative 10, divided by negative 10, y equals, negatives cancel, and we get a 4, okay? And we're going to now do what we did before. We're going to take one of the equations, write another one. So I'm going to pause this and come back. Okay, so I went ahead and did all of this, but because it's kind of a review of what you already know. But after we found out that y was 4, I came and I got this original, not the changed equation, but the original, and I wrote it out. And since we know that y is 4, right? We're going to take that and we're going to put it right there, come up with the equation. We're going to simplify by multiplying, then we subtract 28 from both sides, and then we divide by 6 to get x is equal to 4, and that's our solution. Okay, so that's how we do it, guys. That's how you do this assignment. I'll do one more if you want. I'll do number 4 if you want to pause the video, and then I'll come back and show you the solution. Okay, so here's number 4. If you think you know how to do it, you can try it, and then I'm going to make mine bigger. Hold on. Okay, so if you want, you can go ahead and try it to see if you can get the solution and pause the video and come back. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and show you, okay? Okay, so as I look at this video, I look at which one's going to be easier to turn into, give them the same coefficient but with opposite sides. So I've got a 9 and a 5. If I add those up, they're not going to cancel. Also, if I multiply 5 by 2, I don't get 9. So let me look at the x's, or the y's. If I look at the y's, I see they're both 7. But if I combine them, I'm going to have two negatives. That would be negative 14y. If one of them was positive, then I would be able to cancel out. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make one of these equations positive, maybe just the top one. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to multiply the top times negative 1, okay? So that I change, because I would have to multiply the negative 7 by negative 1 to cancel, make that positive. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and write it right here, okay? Okay, when I multiply this whole equation, every term, the 9x times negative 1, it's now negative. This positive now becomes, this negative now becomes positive when multiplied by negative 1, and this negative 128 is now positive. Now I can combine these, so go ahead and do that. Okay, so when I combine these two, I get negative 14x equals 112. Divide by negative 14 both sides, and I get x is equal to negative 8. So now I can use the top equation to go ahead and find out what my y is. So go ahead and try that, and pause the video and come back. Okay, so I went ahead and I put the negative, I'm rewriting this equation here, and I put the negative 8 right here, minus the 7y. So now I'm going to go ahead and simplify. Okay, so when I simplified, I got this equation here, and then I needed to combine negative 72, negative 28. Remember, this is negative, so I had to add 72 to both sides to get this equation. Okay, then divide both sides by negative 7 to get y is equal to positive 8. Remember, negative divided by negative. And so now I get the final solution over here. And remember to make sure you try it over there to make sure it works. But that's how you do it. So go ahead and do the rest of the questions, and that's how you do today's assignment.